2019. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I am Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Raj Giri, the go-home show for Survivor Series 2019. We're going to have NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. NXT involved for the first time ever. Tonight, the go-home show. Raj, are you excited for this?
I gotta say I am not. How are you? What do you think?
I'm more excited about the way it ended. Triple H saying there's an open door Wednesday night at NXT. Who is going to show up?
Yeah, I think this could be the week that NXT, might win against AEW. But outside of that, I just felt like the invasion stuff just felt lazy. It was just kind of the same stuff they've been doing. Overall, I thought the show was fine. It wasn't boring, but I just thought it just feels uninspired. All these SmackDown guys that are attacking the Raw guys are not even in the match. So, what's the point? Why do you have these SmackDown guys out there when they're not even involved in this 5-on-5 match? But, so I think storyline-wise, I thought it just sucked. Like, if you're building this feud, you're building this match, you have the guys that are actually in the match show up. Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, those guys, King Corbin, Mustafa Ali. Instead, you have Lucha House Party, Dolph Ziggler, and the guys that aren't even in it.
Raj, I think the audio is coming through your webcam, not your mic.
Hold on.
Getting a little extra echo there, as the chat room is pointing out.
Yeah.
SmackDown, for all its flaws, has been telling a story about Survivor Series and the team. Who's going to be on the team? Who's going to lead the team? What's happening with the team? It's weird that the team wouldn't care enough to invade Raw tonight and would send Cesaro and the Lucha House Party.
Yeah. Is that better?
No, it's still exactly the same.
Here, let me see if I can fix this. But Lucha House Party, they're not even in. So I don't know. I don't want to crap on the show too much because overall I found, I thought it was pretty entertaining, but hold on. I'm going to try to fix this one.
So while Raj fixes that, we're going to get this out of the way tonight. We're going to start strong. And speaking of starting strong, Blue Chew is the sponsor of tonight's episode. Guys, you remember the days when you were always ready to go. Oh, remember those days, the late 90s, freshman year of college. Just think about it. Fixate on it for a moment. Remember that energy you had. Remember that get up and go that sometimes, got up and went without you. That's how powerful it was. But now you're older. You've got a mortgage. You've got responsibilities. You've got children, perhaps. You're stressed out. You're thinking about your job, your life. It's taking its toll, and it's hitting you where it hurts the most. Well, the good news is now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. So listen up. BlueChew.com. That is blue like the color blue. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know that this is the stuff that works, and you can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they are chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever that opportunity arises. Just think about that. Spontaneity. Remember what that was like? Romance. Being able to say, like, hey, why don't we, go and do some, we can get the, right now. That's right, right now. I'm good. I'm ready. Remember that? Blue Chew can bring that back to your life. If you don't know if it's going to be spontaneous, maybe you're on a date. We've gotten DMs. I've had people that have messaged me. I had someone come up to me at StarCast, talk about how it's helped their relationships. It's helped with their dating. They don't get as nervous about it before if they want to make sure they're practicing safe sex. With Blue Chew, they know that they're not going to have that failure to launch, failure to perform. It's peace of mind, really, is what it is. And if you could benefit from extra function, forget about dysfunction. If you just need some extra function, if you need more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. And as Matt Morgan always points out, if you talk that good game, Blue Chew helps your follow through. You know what I'm talking about. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, and more. It's prescribed online, shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. And here's an angle that I think we don't tout enough when talking about Blue Chew. Blue Chew's made in the USA. They prepare and ship direct, so they're cheaper than a pharmacy. This is American innovation. It's patriotism. When I chew Blue Chew, you know what song I hear in my head, Raj? You know what song plays when I chew a Blue Chew?
Real American?
Well, that's good. That's a good runner-up.
Okay.
Plays Hail to the Chief.
Ah.
And you can recreate that experience. Just take a Blue Chew, put your hand over your heart, say, God bless the USA. Blue Chew making it happen, and we have a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use our special promo code WINC. Just going to pay $5 shipping. They're going to ship you a pouch. It's incredible. You're going to get these packets. They're going to send you a bunch of them. Free samples. It's not like they're just sending you one. They're sending you enough for the weekend or the week of your life. Promo code WINC at bluechew.com. BLUE chew.com. Promo code WINC to try it free. Blue Chew, the better, cheaper, faster choice. We thank them for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Absolutely. God bless America.
God bless America. Matt Morgan couldn't make it tonight with the politician of our panel. He's sick, but he will be back on Wednesday, just so you guys know.
Yes. Back to Raw tonight.
Back to Raw.
So here's what Triple H's promo was so good, and we're going to go segment by segment, but Triple H's promo was so good, and Triple H has been so good in this. Just where's the Raw or SmackDown response? I know I missed like a show of each, but no one's been telling me, oh my God, there's a great story about the inter-brand competition. Triple H is doing all the heavy lifting here.
And that's part of the problem, that you don't have a general manager or anything anymore for Raw or SmackDown. So you don't have that representative, and to kind of push these angles and storylines, it hurts. And whether it's Paige or Shane McMahon, at least before you had someone, and by not having anyone, that's kind of what you're left with. You got NXT, you got your spokesperson with Triple H, but no one else. So, I think that's kind of hurt this whole angle. Again, what is the angle? Why are they? I'd like more of a story. Like, why are they feuding? Why is NXT? What's the end game? As opposed to every year we just have to attack each other every week because we have a match at Survivor Series, and then it's completely forgotten about. I guess I'd like to see just more than that.
It's very odd that we had the story for years about Shane having one show, Stephanie and Triple H having the other. Vince McMahon said, I want to see you go to war with each other. For 2 years, they kept up this angle. And then last December, they came together. You're the authority, fans. We're going to listen to you from now on. And it's just been kumbaya ever since. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. They panicked. If you recall last year, they had that really low rating, which actually they've gone lower than that since. But yeah, they panicked. They decided to get rid of the general managers and, automatic rematches, all these steps, which aren't the problem with the product right now. And, and they panicked. It was like that one time. Remember, I don't know if you were watching wrestling back then, but they kind of did the same thing when Ric Flair was the Raw guy. And I forget if it was Bischoff or Vince that was, SmackDown, and I'm kind of forgetting right now, but they panicked. The ratings dropped, and they had Vince just beat Ric Flair, and take over his controlling interest of Raw. And it was just that whole panic where you just throw away your big storyline because you panic for a one week rating.
And let me tell you something. Back then, after they botched the invasion angle so badly, I was reading recaps on Wrestling Inc. and I was going online to just read about what was happening instead of watching what was happening because the product was so disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where we are now with YouTube, with Twitter. Why do you need to watch the show?
And if you don't have long-term story planning where you're building these stories up and it's a logical, you have your logical turns and twists and everything, then I just thought tonight was the prime example of that. It just felt so redundant. It was just it was just the same.
So we opened tonight with Becky Lynch coming out. They're in Boston. She's cutting a pretty solid promo, interrupted by the Iconics, who talk about they've been left off the Survivor Series team. And Charlotte Flair comes out and talks about how she's tethered to Becky. They're going to have this tag match tonight, Charlotte and Becky versus the Iconics. And right when we go to commercial, Samoa Joe enters the ring. Talk about a cliffhanger. Raj, I mean, he ended up doing commentary, but was your Twitter lit up with people speculating what in the heck is about to happen for that 2 minutes?
No. I mean,
Just me, I guess.
yeah, Joe's got the injured thumb. So I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was really good. He just sounds like he's not rehearsed. He sounds like he means everything he's saying, and that can be kind of hard to find sometimes. So
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Well, when he came out, I was thinking maybe this is a GM thing. Maybe he's going to rally the troops for Team Raw. I thought tonight maybe we would get story going into Survivor Series.
Yeah, no, they didn't do that.
No. So he was out in commentary. Becky and Charlotte won this match fairly easily. Good showcase for them. Really what it was setting up was the attack afterwards. Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, and Maria Shafir came out, attacking the Iconics, clearing them out, while Becky and Charlotte were walking back to backstage. Then they came down, chased them off, and had a confrontation with security guards as Jessamine, Maria, and Shayna disappeared through the crowd. And this is the closest we've come to the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsewomen. But that aside, Raj, what did you think of the segment?
They haven't announced the women that are in the traditional Survivor Series elimination match, right? This is the go home show, the go home Raw, and they still haven't announced the women that are involved in that match, if I'm not mistaken.
They announced the SmackDown team.
Yeah, but not the NXT.
No.
So, it's the go home show. Maybe it's a good time to announce that.
Yeah, I have no idea who's on Raw or NXT.
So Raw is Sasha, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and SmackDown is Sasha, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. Then it's Charlotte, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Natalya, and someone else for Raw. And then NXT, they haven't announced anyone. I'm guessing some of the Four Horsewomen, but you would think that they would have announced that tonight.
It sounded like you called them the Poor Horsewomen, and that should be in the promo. One side should say, "We are the Four Horsewomen. You were the Poor Horsewomen."
There you go.
That would be solid. I like this tonight. I was disappointed that this didn't really keep going or lead to anything.
Lewis is saying there are 2 more shows. Yeah, one of them gets half the viewership, and then the other one, yes, you do have one more show. But you would think with the pay-per-view, you'd kind of want to make sure you're pushing all the matches, before the week of.
You would think, but it's the WWE. What do they care about logic, consistency, storytelling? They care not.
Yeah.
So Becky's got her triple threat. We've got the 5 women, 5-on-5-on-5 women's Survivor Series match. Think they're going to add a women's tag Survivor Series match to match the men's one?
I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty loaded now. They got 8 matches now, 7 matches. So, I mean, if you want to give these time, I don't really think they could fit. Because think about this. You got 5-on-5, 2 elimination matches. Unless they're squashes, that's, you're talking about maybe 10 falls in those. So
yeah,
those could take a while.
So we went from this match, and yes, these run-ins should have had, although last year, I guess they kind of did, because Becky was facing Ronda. It was last year's
that was awesome.
Incredible. And it was really Becky leading the team. I get a little sense that they're trying to do that, but they broke it up too much this year, I think. And because it's the first time with the NXT roster being there, I understand why they broke up the men and the women. But Ryder and Hawkins were backstage. They were talking about a tag team title shot tonight that was supposed to happen against the Viking Raiders. Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor showed up, beat the crap out of them, and talk trash while Ryder and Hawkins were on the ground.
Okay, so I was in Vegas over the weekend. I have not watched SmackDown. Why are they getting a title shot? They haven't won a match in like half a year?
Oh. First, man, insult to injury. Ryder cut out of the Wrestling Figures episode of The Toys That Made Us that dropped on Netflix Friday. And tonight, humiliated, losing his title shot and beaten down at the hands of AOP. Did you watch that episode?
At least they're doing something with the AOP. No, I have not.
Have you watched The Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so it's a show Like one episode is about G.I. Joe, one's about Transformers, one's about Ninja Turtles, and one is entirely dedicated, an hour long, to wrestling figures. You want to learn about Jakks Pacific and the war between Gloob and LJN for the WWE license? It's all there.
Okay.
Highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's an hour long episode. Wrestling figures. Fantastic from start to finish.
I will check that out.
And Matt Morgan's favorite, the LJN Hulk Hogan, prominently displayed in the episode.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it was great. So Carl Anderson versus Humberto Carrillo. And they were saying Humberto tonight. So now I just feel like a huge dick. I've been saying Humberto this entire time. Humberto Carrillo.
I think it has been Humberto until this week.
Seriously, getting rid of the H.
I would have recognized that. Yeah, I felt like this was the first time I've heard them saying Humberto.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat will correct us, but I think that was the first.
So Street Profits came to have Humberto's back, while Anderson, of course, had Gallows and AJ Styles. And Humberto picked up a win. Next week, he's going to face AJ Styles for the U.S. Championship on Raw.
I mean, he he's been hurt by how often they've beaten him. So I think even if he gets the win over AJ, it's just I don't know. I just think the damage has been done. I think fans might turn on that if you haven't beat AJ. So
yeah,
we'll see.
This I don't like that they did. They kept teasing big news. We got big news, breaking news coming up. You have to see. Which led us to Lana with Bobby Lashley. Lana got divorce papers, got a restraining order against Rusev. Can't come within 90 miles. Turned out it was 90 feet. Big difference.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
And then they just...
What do you chew? Oh, is that your cough drop?
It's a cough drop. I apologize. As people could tell from this sultry voice I'm rocking tonight, fighting a little bit of a cold. Little bit.
It's going around. Matt's sick. You're sick. I was sick. Yeah.
But I'm here tonight. I don't care. I'll just mute it. I'll Rolf on camera. I don't give a shit.
You're tougher than Matt, is what you're saying.
I'm tougher than Mr. Tough Enough himself.
There you go.
Well, he did go home with an injury, so
yeah.
Foreshadowing. Anyhow, Bobby and Lana just started doing it right there in the ring to end this segment. And then Bobby had a match with No Way Jose, beat the crap out of him.
It was interesting. No Way Jose, he's a big guy, like standing, face to face with Lashley. They're not that, I mean, obviously Lashley's way more cut and ripped, but, as far as size goes, No Way Jose has got the size that WWE likes. He's just got a terrible gimmick. And until he sheds that off, until he changes that, he's doomed. But, he's got the tools if he can get out of this.
If he can get out of this.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it takes leaving or, doing something, or going back to NXT, coming up with a new character. But I think if he doesn't do it, he's doomed. But there's a lot of potential there, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, Seth Rollins versus Andrade. I mean, this was a good match. This is the same problem I had with the Owens versus McIntyre, though. They do this to let these guys go, and then instead of a winner, we get the run-in. This case, the Lucha House Party. I guess that kind of makes sense. Andrade's fought against them before.
So yes, if this was some kind of alliance or something, yes, then it would make sense. Like if they were starting something, but it was clear that they weren't. It was just, again, Lucha House Party. They're not in the freaking Survivor Series. They're not involved in the match. Why not have Roman Reigns? How much more intriguing if you're trying to sell a pay-per-view, having Roman Reigns, out there with Seth and, going face to face. Instead, you have guys that have been treated like jobbers for years, and that's your selling point.
Yeah. I don't get it.
I'm trying to find something positive here, but Jesus Christ, it's just, it's like we're building up Ray versus Brock. So let's have Ray. I can't even think of a dumb enough example. Have him, feud with Luke Harper this week.
Oh, and by the way, while this is going on, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Tony Khan, there's this great
that was the best
brand Twitter war happening. It was like the East Coast, West Coast 90s hip hop feud happening on Twitter in real time, with Tony Khan chiming in. Like, all this is happening. Why?
By the way, we interviewed Tony Khan today for Wrestling Inc. It's going to be on the Weekly tomorrow. So we got a one-on-one with Tony Khan. It'll be on tomorrow's show. This happened before the Orton tweets, so we did ask him about CM Punk. It was after the CM Punk, so we did ask him about that with CM Punk tagging him.
Yeah, and his response to that, we'll talk about all that later in the episode. But seriously, go on Twitter. That was the best thing that happened today in the world of wrestling. So Seth Rollins won that by DQ after the Lucha House Party. How did they determine that? In that case, because Seth got hit first that he's declared the winner by DQ?
I guess, yeah. Who knows?
Okay.
This is how many DQs were there tonight? Were there any matches other than Lashley and No Way Jose that had a decisive finish?
Becky and Charlotte won.
Asuka.
The attack happened after. I don't even remember.
Asuka beat Natalya. Yeah.
They showed the footage of CM Punk debuting on WWE Backstage last week. We'll talk about that a little more in regards to all this drama. Buddy Murphy knocks on Aleister Black's door. Is this the first time we've seen the outside of Aleister Black's door?
I think so.
So he does this, and then it leads to a match of Akira Tozawa versus Buddy Murphy.
And I mean, those guys could tear it up, but this was Tozawa's first time on Raw in how many months? I don't know, man. I just thought that no one felt like stars tonight. And I think that's what always gets me sometimes watching Raw is no one's protected. No one feels like a superstar. And, even Seth, they've done a number on him.
It's odd. Think about last year was so good. The first year after the brand split was so good when they did this and they were telling the story and the teams. And tonight they even said, what was it? Samoa Joe on commentary saying, this is a terrible idea for team building to have guys that are going to be teaming together Sunday face each other tonight.
You know what it felt like watching the show and with the announcers? It felt like they didn't know what the card was for Sunday. Like when Lucha House Party's out there interfering, like, oh, Team SmackDown's out, without realizing that they're not involved in the match. Anyway, I just felt like it just feels like no one knows what's going on. No one cares.
KCC in the chat asking, where is Titus Worldwide? I am nostalgic for Titus Worldwide at this point.
Yeah. Right?
They're not doing stuff. Aside from Bobby, Lana, Rusev.
That's the only story.
Yeah. That's
right?
Isn't that, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but isn't that freaking weird?
They tried with Roman, with his attacker that went nowhere quick. Yeah, man, the storytelling's just been a tough point with WWE, and that's always been, for me, it's always been more about the stories and the characters.
Yes.
If you're a fan of the athleticism and the kicking out at 2 and all that, that's great. Everyone watches things for different reasons, but for me, it was always the characters and the storytelling, and it's just been lacking big time.
This is actually, I agree with this. Lorenzo Munoz is saying you need to start getting guys to stop doing everything in their arsenal in every match.
Yes.
Because they lose their specialists. I thought this tonight, KO and Drew was an incredible match, but why is KO doing all this for a match where I don't believe there were any stakes? There was nothing, like the winner didn't get like a gift card to Applebee's or anything. Like, why is he going the extra mile to do all that? Ray and Brock, they're trying.
I like the story, except, they haven't been on the show in like 2 weeks. So, and again, this was the go home show and they didn't do anything. Ray did cut a promo, and I think Ray has been fantastic. I think Ray, he sounds really like he means what he's saying. And that genuineness is kind of hard to find lately. And I think he's been good. So
Buddy Murphy won that match over Akira Tozawa, and this was a good match.
It was good. I mean, they faced each other a bunch of times in 205 Live. And yeah, they got good chemistry.
Eric Rowan backstage talking to a cage.
But do you see either of those guys going any? And this is no disrespect to either of them. I think they're both super talented. But do you see them, either of those guys, anywhere in 6 months?
I feel like Buddy Murphy, they were high on for a hot minute, and that time has passed.
But it's like Ali, right? They're hot on them for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. And I feel like we've already seen that with Buddy Murphy a couple times.
Yeah. I don't get it.
He's talented. We'll have to see with the personality and the charisma. If that part is, if he doesn't have that, it's an uphill climb.
It's just so weird to me that in a time where we are in peak television, there's more TV to watch than you could watch in a lifetime. If you were to consume everything that is on in a given year, it would sustain you for decades. That they don't have a little more going on in that department.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, as far as finding talented writers, there's never been a better time. But it's an audience of one with Vince McMahon. I mean, that's been the case forever.
And I say this isn't as like a wrestling pundit. I mean, I say this one as a wrestling fan who remembers a time when, even in recent times, we're talking about this, where they were trying and yeah, everything didn't work, but at least there was a sort of hokey charm. Remember, think back to the Shining Stars trying to sell you a timeshare in Puerto Rico. Like, at least there was some stuff to be entertained by, to call out. Every week now it's like, well, Brock Lesnar's doing this thing. Heyman came out and advanced the story. And there were some really excellent matches, and Lana and Bobby tried to get it on. And aside from that, it was just like a wall-to-wall wrestle fest. I feel like that is Raw in recent weeks.
I can't argue with that. Yeah. I mean, as far as telling stories and stuff, I feel like it's just been lazy. And the NXT invasion stuff, it's a perfect example of it. I thought Triple H was great tonight, and we'll get to that. But again, I have no reason why these teams are facing off, like why they're so heated. Brand supremacy, if that's it, well, all right. If that's a good enough explanation, then good. But
as Eternal Goat is
I'd like
saying,
a little more meat on the bone.
Just whatever they need to do to get Jimmy Jacobs back would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There is a there's going to be a big change coming up with the XFL starting up in a couple months. Yeah. Vince is not going to be as hands-on, so we'll see if anything changes.
Get that man a hobby. Just away from creative.
We need him gone in the summer too. Because the creative has not been working.
So Eric Rowan has perhaps a living creature in a cage. What do you think it is?
I was saying sewer rats last week, but that would be a. I don't know. What do you think? A baby?
Baby Yoda?
It. I could see them going the ironic way, where it's like a little kitten or something. Yeah. Remember how, because they were trying that with Rowan for a while, where he was like liking classical music and drinking wine.
Yeah.
So maybe
I don't know. I like that. I think that'd be kind of a nice little turn, a little something.
Kitten.
Flush it out.
A baby, I guess, would be a little controversial.
Just a baby. He stole a child.
Yeah. Harper's contract.
Yeah, there we go. Did you watch The Mandalorian yet on Disney Plus?
I have not.
Dude, that is for real.
Yeah.
Got to check that out. Are you a big Star Wars guy?
No. I've seen them all.
But you're not. I mean, I'm not saying like you got like a Red 5 jumpsuit you change into every year just to sort of get that feeling. But I'm saying like if you see them all and you prioritize it a little, this was good. I liked it.
Okay. I'm planning on watching it. I'm signed up for it.
Yeah. So Eric Rowan was wrestling Alex Malcolm. Out came Samir and Sunil Singh, R-Truth. Good Lord. Rowan beat up everybody. Hit the Iron Claw on Alex Malcolm for an easy win.
Yeah. That's all I got. Yeah.
Randy Orton. Oh, Randy Orton.
He's been in the
Backstage
news today.
promo. Yes.
Tony Khan bringing up Orton saying
Uh-huh.
the N-word. We'll get to that.
And that was recently. This isn't like some
No.
tape from 20 years ago where he was
Yeah.
like rapping along to Biggie or something. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Randy saying he's the greatest Survivor Series superstar of all time. He's going to fight the Viking Raiders tonight with a partner of his choosing, one that will benefit him. The mystery, the suspense.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre. Match of the night?
I guess by default, yeah. Again, there's no finish. I just don't like it when you have a 25 minute match and then it just ends in with a crappy finish with just a DQ. It's just lazy. Again, I just felt like so much of the show is lazy. You didn't have a real finish. If you're going to do a shitty finish, then have it end quickly.
Yeah.
It's clear, like Drew McIntyre, for how big he is, like he's a big dude and he can work. I mean, he's really good in the ring. Kevin Owens obviously is fantastic. These guys, this could be something down the road.
I agree. So NXT invaded during this match and Triple H came in and this segment, right? This is the best thing that happened tonight. This match and then Triple H's promo talking to Kevin Owens. Triple H talking like a life coach, like Tony Robbins in there, just working it. Kevin, the potential I see in you. You're different. You're different than the rest. It's like he was going to make him an offer. He was going to say something, but before he could, the Raw locker room emptied out. And it emptied out originally with like 3 people to come in and start beating up NXT.
Yeah, it was like 4 guys that beat up all of NXT, right?
Yeah. It wasn't great. But I love this promo and this, good, they're busting it out now, but like I said, this could really be something. And the reason I'm a little angry about it is that imagine if they'd done this 2 weeks ago, even, or 3 weeks ago. And then tonight, there would have been maybe Team Raw suspicious of Kevin Owens and saying, how do we know where your loyalties lie? Triple H did X, Y, and Z for you. Like, this is a really interesting story potentially. And Survivor Series is Sunday night.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't want people changing their opinions on the show because of us. But Chris is saying, I swear I hear this podcast thing. The show is good, but now I hear these guys. I don't know now.
It was. I said this about Friday Night Show. It was like fantastically average.
Yeah, again, we're here to review these and look at it as a regular TV show, and from a storytelling standpoint, it's just been very weak.
And Survivor Series, next to Money in the Bank, Survivor Series might be my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Survivor
Series was the first ever pay-per-view that I paid for in '89. But yeah, man, I have some nostalgia for Survivor Series, but it's not the same. Back in the day when in the '80s, early '90s, you would know everyone on those teams, and you would know the story. And I remember like Ricky Steamboat was pulled for Tito Santana one year. I was like, aha! And like you just know because they had built those matches up so much. Now I can't tell you half these matches on this show, and I'm actually having to look at it right now. But yeah.
I agree with Paulie that perhaps the reason the Royal Rumble is the best pay-per-view currently is it's the one that's you almost can't screw up because the story is the match itself.
Yeah. That's kind of what it's turned into. Yeah.
Yeah. Even as Tammy's saying, not terrible, but not good, just bizarre, weird commercial breaks and random matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this with Triple H and Owens. Man, I think this could be a really good storyline, especially if maybe Owens goes back to NXT for a little bit. It's got to be building to something. Like they can't have this. Do you think Triple H is going to wrestle on Team NXT on Sunday night?
So here's the problem I have with what they've been doing with NXT is they're throwing them in with the Lucha House parties and all the underneath guys. Whereas with the NXT, these are the top guys. Adam Cole is your champion. I think he almost needs to give him a little credibility. I feel like it's been hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not having again, it's not like Roman and Braun fighting with these NXT guys. And I did not see SmackDown, but at least tonight, for the Go Home Raw, it's not your top guys fighting with the NXT guys. It's the underneath guys, and I think it just makes NXT, it gets it on them.
Okay, so and this is where I understand people liked Ray and Brock, the build and what they've been doing with this. But tonight we don't get Brock. We get Paul Heyman backstage in Aleister Black's closet, giving us a recap of the feud from the Brock Lesnar perspective.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Which I like this better than most of Heyman's promos as of late. He didn't just go out in the ring and do the exact same thing. At least it was a little different. I like the style of the previously on WWE. I liked that it had a little bit of that. That was cool. And I liked Ray's response to this tonight. I think it was good. Do you think in any way, shape, or form it is plausible that Ray wins this match, even with no holds barred, no DQ? Can Rey Mysterio win this match against Brock Lesnar Sunday night?
It's weird. I think it'd be anticlimactic if he did now, because there was no build really outside of that, tonight. I felt like you needed a strong go home angle to get you behind Bray, and by not doing it, I just feel like it would just be kind of a waste. Like a Brock, look, this is where wins and losses matter. Beating Brock is a big deal, and I just think it would be kind of thrown away with the build the last couple of weeks.
So we had Asuka versus Natalya. Asuka did win clean on this tonight.
Asuka's awesome.
Yes.
And so is Kairi Sane.
Wasn't it weird in the last couple of days? What was it, Meltzer, that said somebody, and everyone's been speculating about Kairi Sane's future?
Yeah. Well, Stardom wants to get some of their stars back. So, and I think she's probably at the top of their list.
Yeah. This was a good match. Then we had the Viking Raiders versus Randy Orton, and his mystery partner is Ricochet.
I think we all saw this coming. I think Orton and Ricochet are going to be the next tag team champions, right?
Really?
Yeah.
How long do you think that's going to last?
I don't know if this is building to an eventual Randy Orton Ricochet match, or if they've even thought that far ahead. But yeah, I bet you within a month they'll be tag team champions.
Okay. There you have it. Raj calling his shot. Heavy Machinery, Cesaro, Lucha House Party, Baron Corbin, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler came in. And while NXT, not everyone had a t-shirt, not only did SmackDown have matching t-shirts, but they got that Fox money, so SmackDown had blue baseball caps.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
I mean, whatever. This was what it was. All the locker rooms emptied. Everyone came out. They're fighting each other. Oh my God, what's going to happen Sunday? But then Triple H grabs the mic backstage, appears on the big screen, says, Raw, SmackDown, Wednesday night, NXT, the doors will be wide open, invites everyone to bring what they want and show which brand they're fighting for. That was a fantastic way to go off the air tonight. But just this, both sides in a brawl, this is like the least interesting version of the Survivor Series go home they've been relying on for years with this brawl.
Yeah, but it's good for them that they're actually building up NXT for the first time in 8 weeks.
No, that part is amazing. But what I'm saying is just the brawl aspect of it is like, whatever. We've seen this.
Yeah. I mean, it was the standard lazy stuff. Just everyone's fighting for no reason. And you know what it felt like? It felt like they're like, oh, we got 2 more minutes to go, so just keep fighting. It didn't seem like it had a purpose, but there you go. That was the go home angle on your, I guess your B show now, but yeah. It
just makes me think that the Triple H idea was good, but Vince was like, but everybody comes out and starts beating each other up, right? Like that's what happens. Have you ever interviewed Freddie Prinze Jr. about his time working with Vince?
I haven't. I thought we've had him on the Weekly before, though. Maybe not.
Interesting.
I don't know.
The quote that always strikes me, and I can't remember if he didn't ask me anything or if it was an interview, but he said that one time on Vince McMahon's jet, Freddie was watching Richard Pryor. And Vince said to Freddie, "Why are you watching Richard Pryor?" And Freddie's like, "Richard Pryor's really funny, one of the greatest comedians of all time." And he's like, "Well, why would you watch this when you want to laugh when we have Santino?" And that is Vince McMahon right there. I think of that all the time.
Oh boy. Wow. I have not heard that story, but now I need to reach out to Freddie. Get him on the show.
Absolutely. Wednesday's going to be good. I want to see what AEW does. I want to see what NXT does. And people keep talking about this. Oh, now you were on AEW's tip. Now you're talking about NXT. You want them to win. Yeah, I want both sides to go at 150% to try and beat each other because it's better for everyone. And then maybe Raw and SmackDown will take their heads out of their asses and actually try and compete with what's happening on Wednesday nights.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that's what we'd want, what we all want is everyone pulling out all the stops. And Wednesday nights are the most interesting wrestling nights of the week for me right now.
Yeah,
by far.
Absolutely. But I don't want NXT to get beat down so much that they stop trying or they don't get the resources they need.
It's interesting because they could win. It's almost like they're... Because it's not hard for them to be like, all right, we saw that week that AJ Styles was on. They came like 1% away from beating AEW. So
Brock Lesnar in Full Sail.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have Seth on, Roman, and they'd probably win that week. So,
and credit to them, I think they want to win it the right way by doing something organic to the story.
Yes, and I think that's the thing. Like they're trying to build this thing and not have to rely on gimmicks yet.
And as the chat's pointing out, Ambrose and Allen, Moxley, pardon me, Ambrose, John Moxley and Darby Allin wrestling Wednesday night on Dynamite. So that's going to be a tough one. I might do some flipping and switching on the big screen between both shows with Wednesday night.
Yeah. I mean, Darby Allin isn't necessarily a draw yet, but this is how you build stars is by putting them with your top draws, and we'll I think that's match. Again, it's not on pay-per-view; it's on their TV show. They try to be more tame, so. I don't think it'll be anything like the Moxley Omega match that we saw a couple weeks ago.
We'll see. That being said, I'm still looking forward to Survivor Series.
It's one of the top 4.
I think with that and War Games back to back, and I wish War Games was 5-on-5, and the story was whichever team wins, both the men's and the women's matches, becomes the NXT team.
I think by adding NXT to Survivor Series, it kind of hurt War Games. It's like you're promoting 2 shows for the same weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it screwed up their storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the same guys who are supposed to be competing against each other the night before, and then they're also buddy and unified for the next night. So, I think it's clear that the NXT edition was more of a late thing. It wasn't the original plan. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think match-wise, I think it's going to be an awesome show. I think you look up and down the card, it's kind of an underrated show just because, when I'm talking about the story, but as far as the in-ring action, I mean, it's pretty stacked.
Although, I'm trying to think, in-ring, I mean, when on this podcast, when do you hear wrestling fans complaining about the matches themselves? Except that they're too short or they're too long. Oh, okay, maybe that. That's really more the booking than the match. But it's exciting, man. I just want everyone to try their hardest because I feel like we get rewarded when that happens. So what else do we got in the world of wrestling?
So AEW, they're bringing Bash at the Beach. So we talked to Tony Khan earlier today. They own Cody had bought the trademark for Bash at the Beach, so it's not owned by WWE. They're using
bought it from who?
It just expired.
Oh, okay.
So so Cody trademarked it, and so they're bringing that back. I always, one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time was the 1996 Bash at the Beach where Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO. Hogan's first pay-per-view was a Bash at the Beach. So it, yeah, from a nostalgic point of view, it's pretty cool. And hopefully they do it like, they have the whole beach setting and everything.
Well, one step closer to 4th of July, Great American Bash, Raj, bringing back one of your favorites.
Well, WWE owns that.
Oh, I kept that one. And this is interesting. So this is going to happen. They're bookending the Jericho cruise. And did I read it correctly? They're actually going to tape an episode of Dynamite on the cruise ship itself?
Yep. So last year for the cruise, they had matches and they taped it and they did an iPay-per-view for it. So yeah, they're going to do a whole episode of Dynamite on the Chris Jericho cruise that week.
Well, there you go. So let's talk about what happened on Twitter with CM Punk, Tony Khan, and Randy Orton.
Yeah. So do you have the tweets in front of you?
I do not, but let me see what I can find here.
Let's see here. So CM Punk, he's complained in the past about, he said that AEW always likes to talk about him. They bring his name up. And then today he tweeted and he said, "It is weird trying to catch up on 5+ years of wrestling. I'm doing what I can. There's bright spots, mostly women from what I can tell. There's bad too. I'm going to talk about it and no one is safe. Join us." So he tagged Renee Young, WWE on Fox, Booker T, Paige, Vince McMahon, and Tony Khan. So, there he is. He brought Tony Khan into it. So Tony Khan replied and he said, because Punk had said no one is safe, Tony Khan replied and said, "No one is safe. Sounds like a plane full of wrestlers in Saudi Arabia." And Randy Orton, hold on, let me bring this up. Hold on a second. So he replied to Tony Khan and basically said there was an article like a year about Tony's dad, and the title of the article is "Jaguars owner Shahid Khan being investigated for corruption." So Randy Orton replied and said, "What's that whole thing about glass houses and stones?" And Tony replied, "I thought you only tagged me in your post when you were grasping for leverage. That article's over a year old and is about baseless claims made about my dad years ago. That's the best you can do, nothing. Meanwhile, in the time since that was written, you used the N-word on Twitch." So, yeah, a lot going on there.
Oh, yes.
So, Orton re-signed with WWE a couple weeks ago. Long-term contract, 5 years. Clearly was using AEW for leverage. Tony Khan calling him out on that. But yeah, Orton was on a Twitch stream or whatever you call it, playing Call of Duty, and he used the N-word as a, he had used it during the stream. So
you would think after the Hogan incident,
he said it in it's different. Like Hogan said it in a racist way. That's and cool. I'm not, granted, this is still racist. That you shouldn't be using that word, whatever. But he wasn't using it the same way. He was doing it. I felt like, I don't know. It's weird because I'm not trying to justify it, but the way he was using it is different than the way Hogan was using it.
There was no hatred, or it wasn't a part of a racist tirade like Hogan's was.
But it's a racist thing to say. It's stupid as hell.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, not justifying it, but it's definitely different. So Orton said it,
and it was weird that it was like a story for about an hour, and then like everybody moved on. You know what I mean? We see things, especially on social media, on Twitter in particular. It snowballs, becomes a huge thing, and I feel like this didn't really get traction.
I mean, he was using it in kind of a slang way. You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, but it's still, it seems like society,
right? Like
it's pretty clear that there is no context. Even African American writer was fired from a TV series simply because he was telling a story about some racist shit somebody said to him 40 years ago, and him using the word made people so uncomfortable. CBS got rid of it. So it seems like there is no context where that is okay in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was dumb as hell. I mean, to think that you would do that on a live video stream. I mean, what the hell, you know? Yeah, again, I don't think he. Yeah, nothing ever came of it. It was one of those that was quickly forgotten. I do think the intent, he didn't mean it necessarily in a racist way, but it is a racist thing to say, and it's it's very uncomfortable talking about these these topics on
It
on
is
the podcast because people are people get very sensitive.
and I think rightfully so.
Oh, for sure.
But it's
Yeah,
and
I'm a man
whatever.
of color. So yeah, it's I've heard, being a person of color, I've heard stuff, growing up, and I do know when someone's saying something with malice and someone's saying something that's not, and there is a big difference.
Well, let me tell you, having grown up in portions of the Midwest for many years, there's a reason I don't have a preference for the pronunciation of my last name, because in the Midwest, we went by Steen the entire time. It's prejudice is still very much a thing.
Oh, for sure.
And,
of course.
and I think it's good to have a dialogue about it, but it seems like this is one everyone's pretty clear on.
Yeah.
This isn't like Matt uses the word midget and we have to be like, hey, Matt, about 10 years ago, there was like this, like, we don't say that anymore.
Yeah. So the way he said it, Vince McMahon used that on national.
Well, lest we forget. Which is
which is so stupid.
Like, blows my mind that, like, again, this has been a pretty clear rule.
Yeah.
For quite some time.
Yeah. Again, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that, yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, of course, there's worse stuff people could say. There's worse context you could have used it in. You can argue that as you will, but yeah, it's surprising that someone, especially in contract renegotiations, he hadn't even re-signed at the time, would think that, oh, hey, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's, Orton, his, gosh,
Don't give an F attitude,
Well, so many people, it's easy to jump on anything, but, Orton's got a Latino wife, he's got kids of color. I don't think he's racist. I think it was very stupid for him to say that, but, it was clear he wasn't saying that in a racist way, but he should have, it is a racist thing to say. So, anyway.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure this isn't the end of this Twitter drama. And CM Punk tomorrow night, backstage on Fox. Or FS1, rather.
Are you kind of surprised at like how the buzz has kind of died down quickly?
Because this is perhaps not the lamest way they could have brought back CM Punk.
Well,
it's in the top 5 sort of lamest ways he could have come back to wrestling, period, let alone the WWE in some capacity.
Well, yeah. I mean, and again, he's not with WWE, he's with Fox. But, they're pushing it on WWE TV. To see CM Punk on WWE TV, and it just feels like just the buzz just died down quick from last week. But I don't know. It makes me think he's not going to wrestle again, or anytime soon. I mean, because otherwise they wouldn't bring him back this way, right?
I don't know.
He wouldn't be signing with Fox for a talk show as opposed to, making the big bucks and wrestling again.
We'll see what tomorrow night holds, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know how they're actually going to use him in the show.
So, yeah, that's what I said, Ducks Blazers. Jesus. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's that. Well, we didn't solve racism tonight, but I feel like we made some progress.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you ever think, Raj, in your years, the 20 years you've been doing this, that wrestling was going to become this hotbed for cultural debate and discussion, particularly about like race relations? I mean, I feel like this keeps happening, and maybe it's because the industry does have such like so much drama and racism in its past, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look. I had the biggest problem with how Booker T was booked that year. He faced Triple H. What was that? WrestleMania 19,
The
20?
promo. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ended up losing, and in the worst way possible. I had major issues with that. I've had issues with a lot of the stuff in wrestling growing up. Virgil, how he was booked, and it was one of those things. As a kid, I didn't really see it, and then when you go back and watch that stuff later, it's like, holy crap, that was really bad. So
Yeah. A lot of, you go beyond the clips they show in like the Monday Night Wars documentaries, and a lot of the Attitude Era has not aged well.
no, I mean, DX actually had blackface. They donned blackface on an episode of Raw. So,
Also, I mean, what was it, 15 years earlier, I believe it was the episode of Give Me a Break where Joey Lawrence put on blackface. I think we were all pretty clear blackface was not acceptable back like in the early 80s. So DX must have missed that episode. Not big Nell Carter fans, I take it.
there was a whole movie, Soul Man. You remember that?
I own Soul Man on DVD for the commentary, which is C. Thomas Howell and the director defending the movie and talking about our heart was in the right place. We feel we were very misunderstood in the message we were trying to present. But yes, C. Thomas Howell wears blackface in that film. It is exceptionally awkward. And there was a terrible controversy around it when the film was released.
Yeah. Roddy Piper. Yep. WrestleMania 6. He painted his body half black. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's very strange. It's a very strange time.
Hold on. Jayla, shut up. There we go. All right. Not justifying it, you fucking idiot. All right.
Yeah. Look, here's the deal, folks. Raj, when I started doing this podcast 3 years ago, did we think that we were going to have to talk about this topic so much? I've been figuring this out as I go, trying to take what I read from people online, take my personal views. Matt and I get into it sometimes. Like, it's very sad that these issues are still so at the forefront of America and in wrestling that it's something we have to debate so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need this, to borrow a phrase that Matt would mock. I feel like this podcast needs to be a bit of a safe space to discuss and sometimes play devil's advocate to fully discuss an idea. It's not justifying it. It's arguing it.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's, again, all right.
Yes. So on that note, folks, watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. It was much better than Raw was tonight. And if you go to the movies, go see the movie Parasite. Have you heard about this film, Raj?
No, I have not.
Did you watch Snowpiercer ever?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to see Snowpiercer. That's on home video. Same director, Korean film Parasite. Best movie I've seen in years. It's absolutely fantastic. So there are things better than wrestling, but we're going to be back here Wednesday night to talk about AEW Dynamite versus NXT. NXT with the open door. Triple H is leaving it wide open. Who's going to show up? Oh, please don't be the B team. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
The B team.
They lay out the NXT roster. By the way, you saw Dr. Sleep, right?
I did.
Was it good? Shining is my favorite horror movie of all time.
Really?
So yeah.
I actually thought Dr. Sleep was I liked the new stuff so much. It almost didn't need to be a sequel to The Shining, but the entire third act is deep into The Shining. I was very impressed.
All right.
With it, but it did so bad at the box office. Like,
yeah,
they were going to do a prequel with Scatman Carruthers' character that was in development. That's not happening now. But I saw Dr. Sleep and then we saw Parasite 2 days later, and both were great. But Parasite is just next level.
Yeah. All right. Well, Friday night I have my wife and we have a date night, so we're picking a movie. So
Yeah,
Doctor Sleep is currently in the
Dr.
the
Sleep
lead.
is really, really good. Go see that as well. We'll catch you back here next time, folks, on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.